to a very great extent speaks for itself. But it is of course true that RAF Gibraltar and the RAF generally are as much a part of the defence of the sovereignty of the ROC as they are of the sovereignty of the United Kingdom and of Western parliamentary democracy as part of the NATO alliance. Mr. Speaker, it is also apposite to note that the runway that today we take for granted and that was so important in the 1960s and 70s when Gibraltar was once again laid siege by Spain was constructed by the RAF for the RAF during the Second World War in the circumstances set out here. And so we see in the Royal Air Force as important a part of our life in Gibraltar as any other one of the armed forces. And one, Mr. Speaker, that has been a feature of life for all of us in the time that we remember Gibraltar. I remember happy days, Mr. Speaker, as a boy seeing the red arrows fly around the ROC during RAF open days. Today the RAF is perhaps less visible. They have a lot of personnel in Gibraltar, but they're not as visible in our streets as they might have been years before. But the relationship between Gibraltar and the Royal Air Force is as strong, if not stronger, than it ever has been. And this motion should reflect that, Mr. Speaker, and I sincerely hope it will be a motion that all honourable members will find possible to support, so that the whole of Gibraltar is seen through this representative democracy of ours to be bestowing on the Royal Air Force the freedom of the city on this their first centenary.
Mr. Speaker, a very special and enduring relationship exists between Gibraltar and the Royal Air Force. Many of us, as the Chief Minister himself has said, have fond memories of the Red Arrows. In fact, I think Minister Isola will remember our interactions with the Royal Air Force in a different life now, but also with the Red Arrows as well, Mr. Speaker. But what we'd also remember, the screaming tornadoes across our waters, where many of us, of course, were studying in Bayside, and those lessons are often disrupted, but for good reason, I'm sure. I'm also sure that we will also recall the impressive vertical short takeoff landings of the Harriers, and of course, one of our many famous air days, which are sadly something of the past and something which I'm sure all of us miss. There have been many tributes over the last few months celebrating the centenary of the Royal Air Force, and it is of course right that we join those celebrations and mark it by conferring the freedom of the city on the Royal Air Force. The Honourable Chief Minister has properly placed the Royal Air Force in its historic context. There is, of course, the RAF's involvement and reach into the wider community. It is clear, Mr. Speaker, to me, that the Royal Air Force has had a constructive and positive influence over the lives of our young people, and long may that continue.